Welcome everybody. We're here for a really, really special occasion. So this is Old King Farm Spring Fling, which we do every year. And we farm, and we heal, and we educate, and we're mavericks, and we're pioneers. And these are all the things that Gary Young is and would love about us. And some of us wear our cowgirl hats because there's also cowboy. And so we have something very special. Honey, do you want to talk about the trees?
In a minute.
Okay. So we are going to plant. Gary's asked all of us to plant something to commemorate his life. And we have some very special trees. My husband has disappeared. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little bit of history of what we're planting. But he's the reason why we have these trees. So in Young Living and in the world of health, there is a little wolfberry, little red berry, that really is incredibly strong for antioxidants, for overall wellness, for building blood, for cleansing the liver, for doing all kinds of amazing things. It's a little tiny red berry, known as the goji berries in China, Lycium vivarum in Latin, which I just butchered, and wolfberries in English. And we are going to plant some wolfberry trees today in Gary's honor. But what I would like to do is to have each person whose life has been touched by Young Living essential oils to say something to sort of commemorate the special time and to send a prayer of gratitude to Gary. Thank you, Gary.
I can kick it off.
What?
I can kick it off.
You want to kick it off?
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
Here we go.
For me, it's not so much.
Oh, wait.
Oh.
You got to mute the speaker.
Oh,
And look at the
oh, okay. All right. For me, Young Living, it's much more about the people that put me in touch with. I feel like I found my own tribe in a way. So, I mean, although I see and appreciate the benefits of the oils, the people are at least as important, if not more to me. That's my take.
Beautiful. Thank you. We love you for being in our family.
My pleasure.
Who else would like to say?
Yeah, I'll go.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I found my tribe too. And Gary had me in tears at the convention where he talked about wheat and the ancient site. And I realized he was right on with what he was saying. And it brought tears, emotions to me that this man knew something so powerful and was helping humanity. And I could see it and feel his love, all of it. And to this day, I remember that like it was yesterday.
Thank you. So he's talking about the einkorn wheat, that very ancient einkorn wheat that we grow acres and acres of now in Utah. It's very special. Who else would like to speak? Tony?
So, Young Living for me helped me find my purpose, my dharma, and the one time that I was able to meet Gary, that is what I said to him. I found my dharma, and I was able to thank him for shifting me in every way, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, and financially. And I love this community, and it's helped develop me into who I am today. And I'm so very grateful, and I love you, Gary Young. You're my hero. And I know you're helping us from the other side.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Next.
I'll speak. Hi. Yeah, Gary Young was an incredible human being. He wasn't perfect, but he was the closest thing to a biblical prophet of our time. Absolutely incredible. He must have lived 5 lifetimes in a span of one. His biography is so outrageous. You think it's multiple novels, and it's all true. It's amazing. He was such an incredible influence of light into this world. So, here's for Gary. We have a couple wolfberry trees here from, if we can take a shot of those. Yeah. These came from New Jersey, from our little tree we have there. Oh, yeah, big already. That came from a little thing about that big that I brought from Mona, Utah, that Gary brought from Ningxia province in western China near Tibet.
So 16 years ago, Arrest went out to Utah to really vet the whole situation to see if we
Sounded
even
way
wanted.
too good to be
Yeah,
true.
he really needed to check out this Gary Young, check out the farms, the labs, the research facilities, and came back so incredibly inspired and said we have to share his message with the world. And he did come back with this little seedling that's been growing for 16 years in our backyard. And so we will now transplant some of those here on Old King Farm.
So I'd like everyone to take a look at the plants and figure out which one is yin and which one is yang. Okay, which is the female, which is the male. We're going to do a little less. It's all about learning, okay? So whatever we do, we're going to use our senses, our intuition, our fantasy, our logic, right? We're also going to go through several types of soil. I'd like you to look at these different soils. We'll move these around a little bit. So over here in the wheelbarrow is what is proverbially called dirt. You'll notice that it's dry, it's desiccated, right? Right behind you. Okay, so you can come up, you can touch it, you can smell it. That is not polluted, that has not been touched by chemicals, but it has been overused with time. It hasn't been replenished. So it's depleted soil. If it gets moisture, it'll come back a lot to life, but nowhere near as much as we'd like for a viable microbiome community, such as Donna and Rick were showing, that happens in a viable mycorrhizal environment, right? You want to get those little roots all happy and dancing with all kinds of life forms all around them, right? So you're welcome to check this out while we're doing this. This is compost. This is composted poo, okay? This is compost from kitchen, from scraps, compost like from our food that we do here, right? Check the difference out. There's a difference. Subtle, but it's there. This is the 500 biodynamic preparation that's been potentized in water with, I believe, barrel compost. So that's a type of soil, but it's liquid. So we're going to ask you, when we put the trees into the ground, that you can all come and put some of this healing waters onto the plants, and also regular water from our well. So we're going to water the trees. So everybody gets a chance to give the trees some love, some energy, some positive intentions, some aloha, to get them started in a very rough environment. You'll notice we've tried to use a variety of methods to control a lot of grass. This is for merino sheep wool. This is not for farming, right? This is for grass, this is clay. So it's a challenge. We're going to have a challenge. But they've survived so far. So let's see if we give them a little boost on their way, okay? Cool, thank you.
I've been using Young Living essential oils for about almost 8 years now, and I can't enumerate the ways that they have changed my life and the lives of the people I care about. And I love those oils. I use them every single day, and I think Gary was a shaman, really, and a miracle worker, and like a genius, and like he's a scientist and a farmer, but he was a very humble human being. And I was talking last night with Nicole about him, and we were saying, we really feel this sense now that he's with all of us. Absolutely. Like, because he's bigger than his body, which was so broken and battered, and had so miraculously recovered so many times, like the cat with 9 lives. Gary, as his wife said at his memorial, should have left 40 years ago. So we got 40 grace years full of blessings that he gave all of us, and it's really our turn. He established this for us, he gave his life to this work, and now each of us who have a bottle in their pocket can carry his dream and his vision and his healing for the planet forward. And so I'm going to do that with my heart and my soul and my attention. I know many of you will, and if you don't use these oils, think about doing that, because they make a huge difference in your life. They really do. And it brought me to Sue and all of you, and it's just, like everyone says, it's a community and a family of people who want to make a difference. And that's
Thank
what
you,
he
Gary,
built.
for bringing this great chef.
You're right.
Oh, you don't want to come.
So which oil is in your pocket?
Harmony.
Yay, balance of chakras.
I have to have dust, but I have oil on. Now, I just want to say, 2003 is when I was introduced to the oils, and I met Sue and Arrest at a cold winter day, a networking thing. Never knew what the oils would be like in my life. And I heard a lot about this man, Gary Young, and I was like, well, they like him because he owns the company and blah, blah, blah. And then I forget what year they had it in Washington. but I had the pleasure of going to Washington and seeing him in person. And he really blew me away, because I kind of probably had that doubting Thomas, skeptic kind of a mind. I'm always like, waiting for the other shoe to drop kind of a thing. Like, is it really what it seems like it's going to be? But I walked away from that feeling like this man is so real. He's so genuine. He truly cares. To top it off, a couple of years ago I was in Texas, and someone who was in their upline, one of the original people with Young Living, had passed away. Almost that whole convention was a memorial to that person. They really shared their love for this individual who was part of their journey. It just said to me the quality of the human beings that he and Mary were, and I should say are, because she's still there, but who was holding this company, who was representing this company. So as far as the oils go, anything everybody says is so true, and we all have our favorites, and we all use them in our lives, whether we use them as ointments, or whether we use them as diffusers, however we use them in healing. We all use them, and we all know how they work, and we know our go-to oils. We absolutely know, like, gotta have, whichever ones they are, we gotta have. And so I don't, and I always sometimes think, what if I couldn't get my oils? So that causes a little bit of a hoarding situation. Because I probably have enough lavender to get me for 3 years, and these, because they're like my favorites. Like, I have my favorites, so like I make sure I won't run out of that oil. I gotta have enough of that for if anybody gets sick. And for my healing work, I've got to have certain oils that are just my absolute staples. Like, you have your milk and your bread and butter. They're the staples of the oils world. So, and I know that to anybody who's using the oils, they know exactly what I'm talking about. So I am grateful for that cold winter morning when I ran into Swan Rest and it was snowing, and there really was about 6 inches of snow in the parking lot. I think we were the only four, Jennifer Connell, myself, the only, and Swan Rest and the guy who ran the program, were the only 5 people there. And so grateful to Gary Young, and I know now he's on the other side with all the other good people, great ones, making a difference. And I know when they pass, doesn't mean they're gone. So, and I truly believe that. So I feel that energy's there, and we'll be inspired to do more in our work, in our world.
Thank you, Donna. Amen. Marlene, would you like to say something?
So hard to put into words.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's so hard to put into words. So I've been with Young Living for almost 20 years, and watching Gary on stage, and when he talks about his farms, the tears roll down his face. They were his babies, and we just have evolved and in so many ways using the oils, and our health is better. I'm a better person, body, mind, and spirit, and he'll always be my hero. Thank you, Gary.
Thank you. Anybody else?
Gee, it's been 15 years, and I'm Peppermint Boy. My wife is Lavender Girl, of course. We run a thieves' household, just the way it is. Gary was kind enough to have small meetings. He came to New Jersey, not for convention, but for a small group of people. And he was very generous with his time and his knowledge. And in talking, he talked about the frequency of essential oils, that they all have frequencies, and there are resonance effects. He also talked about the effect of essential oils on your DNA, that you can actually change your DNA. You can change things that you think are cast in stone, that you think are concrete, things that you think are absolutely fixed, dissolve in the face of something that we don't truly fully understand. So we try to understand this, and yet Gary just pointed a way that opened a wide, wide field. Many people are looking at this now. It's much bigger than it was when he started. And we all love Gary.
Thank you, Dawn. Anybody else? Nicole? Come on, sweetie.
Come on, Nicole.
I know you love Gary.
I do love Gary. I'm very grateful for all the things, his knowledge, his wisdom. I would not know anybody here unless it was for Gary, and so how I'm able to be connected with people and the community is deeply, deeply profound. And we still are connected globally with every single other person who's had experienced any drop of those oils. We are all connected. So thank you, Gary, always.
Anybody else? Come over here, Oksana. This is the amazing lady that does like the website for Old King Farm and for the ministry.
So there's not a day that goes by that I do not use a Young Living essential oil. I have Breathe Again in my pocket right now, like many of you also. I'm so blessed to use it for my daughter every day. Since she was about 2-3 years old, she's applying it on herself. I never got the chance to meet Gary in person, but the stories I've heard from Sue and Dr. O, it's just so heartwarming. And now since his passing, I feel every drop, every application. I feel it, I feel him, and it's such a blessing. I'm so grateful. So and thank you to both you for all the stories you've shared about him, and I feel like I know him. Thanks.
I'll say a little something.
Good.
I've been with Young Living for 8 years, and I didn't know any of you guys back when I first started learning about the oils, but Gary is kind of like our avatar for plants. You know, having a voice for the plants, to be able to bring forth all their gifts, all the transformation that they do, all the healing that they do. You know, you can't even put it into words. One person, one seed, one person was able to do that whole global thing. And you think about the reach of that and how many more years ahead projecting what one person did. You know, so that's an avatar, that's a person that was brought on this earth by God to say, listen, we got to get back to healing Mother Earth. And it was through him that we are all super blessed, and may, going forward, millions more years of developing and understanding and using the oils. So God bless Gary. May his energy bless us and all the plants even more.
Thank you. So, one of the things that Gary liked to say was there are plenty of marketers on the planet. There are plenty of salespeople on the planet, but we need more healers. So that's one of the reasons why we do this event and why we're broadcasting as much of it as we can, so that you can learn from the healers of Mother Earth, the chronic healing, the farming, there's so much.
The alchemy of ecology.
Thank you. Exactly.
So, Gary was quite the inspiration for me personally to see what he was able to do, not just on one magnificent, hundreds of acre farm in Utah, but all over the world. Incredible. So the least we can do is plant these 2 little trees in honor of his memory, and hopefully they will flourish. And I'm going to ask the chronic healers to come forth and give them a little assistance on their way. It's a rough environment here in Vermont, so we'll see what can be done to give them a little chi boost.
Do you want to go?
Well,
Yeah, that's true. All right, we'll go.
don't smoke at all.
We included their friends.
So, thank you.
For that 10-second delay?
When you guys were doing that, something came to mind. And this was at Gary's funeral, at his memorial service in Utah, which they filmed and broadcasted all over the world. And he has a young son, he's about 16 or 17 years old. And Mary used to be an opera singer, so she raised her children to be musicians. And he sang in his voice that recently dropped several octaves to dream the impossible dream. And, that was Gary. He summed it up. And for each of us, Gary wants us to remember to dream our dreams, to go for it, and go around or through the impossible, because that's what he did over and over and over again. That's kind of what we're doing here too. So thank you so much. Are you ready to plant, sweetie?
Sure.
Okay. Anybody else want to add anything? Okay. Oh yes, Alexander. Go ahead.
Hello everyone. I personally believe what words cannot do, actions very much can. And actions do speak volumes. When I think of Gary Young, I think of an old song called What One Man Can Do. And it's a song about how when we love, when we care about something beyond ourselves, it is the greatest expression of ourselves. And I remember the first time I met Gary Young, I was actually on a trip to Delaware to see him. I was there with Sue, Ursula, Dr. Rest and the rest of them. I was there with my mother, Lars, and a friend of mine named Robin. And we were all just as eager to hear the man speak as everyone else there. And the descriptions that we got from beforehand, Dr. Rest said he remembered a life of being a scribe when he first heard him speak, and that it was like watching him channel beams of light through himself. And I'll be honest with you, when I first heard that, I was like, wow, everyone's really high. Until I actually got there. And it was an experience that words always fall short of, because the man really did speak on another level. And he clearly knew more every time than he really let on, sometimes maybe even to himself, because he was always building the next part of the picture. And it was an amazing thing, a visionary. I think the best part of that, it reminded me that a life of service does not necessarily have to be one of poverty. That being a wealth builder is just as important as being a man of service, because you can serve more when you have more to command. And I thought that was one of the most brilliant lessons that he imparted. And I just want to say thank you, because otherwise I wouldn't be here today carrying Purification and cedarwood in my pocket, which I also recommend you all do, because ticks are a thing. But also because just what it does for consciousness and what it does for your heart is magnanimous, to say the least. Thank you.
Thank you. And let me tell you, the financial part of Young Living is a wonderful thing, because without that monthly Young Living check, we wouldn't have this farm. Yeah. So he was a firm believer in prosperity. So, embrace some, he does it through love and service and healing, but he also, invites each of us to be open to prosperity. So it looks like we're getting ready, all the perfect combinations together.
Yes, we put the sand in with the compost and with the composted cow manure to make like an optimal, soil, because wolfberry grows in a cold desert-like climate outside of Mongolia. So it's certainly cold, but it's wet here, and the clay is not really the favorite soil for this plant. So we're making a little bit of a sandier mix so that it'll feel more comfortable in its new home. Okay.
Is this one female and that one's male?
That's how it looks to me.
Unless it's a trick question.
I vote the other way.
Check that very carefully.
The wing kicks up.
The wing kicks up. Ooh, look at that, look at that. Get a close-up of that.
Oh, okay.
Quick, because it's burning its eyes out. That's the eyes of the plant. That's its nervous system, completely exposed. Should be in the soil. So you don't ever let them out in the air for more than a few moments. You put them in water immediately or soil. But that's what we're talking about. Those hyphae, they only live in the yin. They live in the earth, dark. So the sun will dry them out like that.
Yo, by the way, I think the battery died on that mic, so you just
Throw it in the hole.
throw it in the hole. Or I can't really put it in my pocket.
Where's IT Guy 2? IT Guy 2 missing.
This is like a baby. Yeah, really? I've seen it. The design is nice.
Okay. Ready for that?
No idea.
He didn't say.
So you want to grab me number 2 or?
I should have actually tell us.
I give you my back all the time, right?
I don't know if that's necessarily a yes.
I think you want them up a little bit higher.
Always gotta be ready.
Okay.
Yes, I do.
When I heard of those. That one. You got that swear word?
Post. Editing. Just depends on the morals of the editor, or the sense of humor.
Nobody gets hurt.
Nah, no worries.
It bit me. There we go.
Oh, there's a vase bottle. Oh.
Okay, folks, time for a toast. Everybody ready?
Sorry.
This is not chaga tea. Do not drink this. This is not chaga tea. It'll be a surprise. It's probably good for your microbiome, but it's not on medical orders, okay? This is a compost tea that's going to nourish these plants. So we have a bucket right here. You're all welcome to come and take a little dipper and give them a little boost for the road, okay?
Pouring that magic.
Okay, good luck, guys.